Delicious. Hi everyone. In this video I'm going to show you how to turn this to this. Let's roll that intro.
In this particular painting, I used a combination of layered technique and direct painting method. I used quick burnt umber underpainting as a third brush. Especially in the background and in the shadow, underpainting shines through the top color layers. This helps to disrupt the monotonous color layers, and the warm underpainting unifies color harmony. I took several different photos of my subject, and then picked the best one in my opinion. First, I covered the canvas with an acrylic mixture of raw umber and yellow ochre. For applying acrylic paint, it is advisable to use a brush with fine synthetic hair. Since the first layer was too light, I additionally applied a second layer of acrylic paint. After drying, the canvas is ready for painting. After transferring the drawing to the canvas, I start creating a quick underpainting with burnt umber color. Quick tutorial, how to transfer your drawing to the canvas, can be found on my YouTube channel for free. The painting method of underpainting is somewhat different from the classical method of using oil paints. Umber is used like watercolors. This means that the more working medium you use, the greater the transparency of the color, and vice versa. At this stage of the painting, we are only interested in developing the light and shadow areas of our future work. It's usually preferred to begin painting from the background, and proceed to the foreground. The working medium is composed of turpentine and a small amount of damask varnish. From time to time, I added oleo gel to the mixture, to make it easier to move across the canvas surface. The final painting doesn't contain too many small details, so the underpainting is simply made, and focuses primarily on filling the largest areas in the painting. When applying colors, stick to the outline of your drawing. However, always try to avoid sharp edges and blend them with a dry brush. Avoid heavy paint deposits when working on this stage of underpainting. Umber underpainting should be thin and somehow translucent. Finally, use a large flat brush to blend all sharp edges. Before starting the painting, I had mixed some basic shades in advance. The background behind the orange is very dark and warm. It is mixed with burnt umber, black, and a small amount of Madder Lake Deep. Another mixture I like to use during my painting is ultramarine violet and titanium white. This blue shade is great for reducing the saturation of warm colors. I also use it primarily in areas of halftone, which should have a generally cool bluish tint. The last pre-mixed mixture is the white color of the inner peel. It is mixed with orange cadmium, Naples yellow, and small amount of previous blue tint. As you can see, the mixture is far from white. It has a warm shade, and will appear white, in contrast to the dark background. As always, I start painting by filling the background. It's always a good idea to start with the darkest places in your painting. By contrast to the dark values, you can compare the tonal values in the light areas. You can notice a warmer and lighter shade at the edge between the background and the orange. This effect enhances the model's illumination and contrast. Now I'm starting with the whitest white. During the painting, I still compare value of the white color against the dark background. As you can see, due to tonal contrast, white appears much lighter in the painting than on the palette. The area I'm painting is tilted directly to the primary light source. For this reason, the white color here has the lightest value. For my convenience, I pre-mix another hue. This color has dark value and a warm red and saturated shade. I'll use it primarily for shaded areas of the orange. As you have already noticed, I always pre-mix several basic hues before painting. These prepared colors are then adjusted as needed by mixing on a palette. The area in the shadow has a high saturation and warm hue due to the transmission of light through the sweet and juicy flesh of the orange. In this area, the hue is more yellow, as the flash of the orange is thinner, and the light here travels through in a shorter distance. As long as the color is still wet, I will add a part of the background. Brush strokes are in a random direction, and underpainting occasionally shines through the top layer of paint. Keep in mind that orange has several different properties. The orange's own flesh is semi-translucent, while the white skin, in which the orange is wrapped, is not translucent at all, and reflects more light. Now let's speed up a little. For better composition, let's replace the wooden tabletop with stone tabletop. This will create a greater contrast between the softness and juiciness of the fruit, and the firmness and hardness of the stone. The color of the stone is mixed from white, black and burnt umber. Again, I let the warm underpainting shine through top color layers. This gives a great variety of tones and hues to the stone color. The cool blue tint of the table is a great contrast to the orange warm color of the fruit. The palette knife allows us to implement another painting principle, and it is artist's most powerful texture tool. The strokes of metal on the paint mass cannot be created with a brush, but the big flat brush should be used just for blending. After filling the area with paint, we can add small details, such as a crack in the table. The top of the table is warm, because it is illuminated by a warm primary light source. Don't forget to blend all sharp edges with a dry brush. In the shadow area, always apply thin and semi-transparent layer of color. The closer the drop shadow is to the subject, the sharper the edges are, and vice versa. At the area where the orange touches the table, the shadow has darkest value, due to the absence of light. To make the texture of the stone more convincing, we will slightly damage the sharp edge of the table. The play of highlights and shadows adds more interestingness to the edge of the table. To improve the texture, I add another layer of paint with a palette knife. The color layer is thicker, to create the perfect illusion of stone texture. At the same time, we use the texture to enhance the depth of the painting. Stick to the following rule: the closer the objects are to the viewer, the more noticeable texture they must have. View is very dark, and blends almost with the background. This gives the impression that the leaf is receding into the background. Warm underpainting is complementary to green color. It enriches the green hue, and disrupts its monotonous appearance. The shadow on the other side of the leaf has a cooler bluish hue, as it is cooled by a secondary light source. Where light falls directly on the leaf, the green color is warm, and the most chromatic. After signing, the painting is finished. Varnish should be applied not earlier than 6 months after completion of your painting. After the painting is varnished, never expose the painting to direct sunlight.